You think you could survive the Middle Ages? Think again. Those Renaissance fairs and fantasy shows have lied to you. There are no gleaming knights, no romantic maidens, and definitely no clean anything. Before you finish your first day in medieval Europe, you'll be freezing, starving, probably bleeding, and, if you're lucky, not being burned, whipped, or hanged for something you didn't even know was a crime. Because in the year 1350, everything is out to get you. The food, the water, the church, the nobles. Even the air you breathe wants you dead. Let's see how long you'd last in the most brutal 24 hours of your life. Hour 1. Dawn breaks over a medieval village, and you wake to a sensation you've never experienced. Something is crawling across your face. Welcome to your first hour in the Middle Ages. Your bed isn't a mattress. It's a sack stuffed with moldy straw, teeming with lice, fleas, and bedbugs that have been feasting on your blood all night. That itching? You're already covered in bites that could soon become infected. The room is freezing because there's no insulation, just thin wooden walls with gaps where the wind whistles through. No central heating here, just a small hearth in the main room that fills the house with smoke, but does little to warm it. In winter, temperatures inside hover just above freezing. People didn't undress to sleep, they added layers. Lighting a bigger fire? Bad idea. Your thatched roof is basically kindling waiting for a spark. Hundreds die yearly in house fires. Sleep near the fire for warmth and you might never wake up. And that smell? That's you, your family, your livestock, probably sharing your house in winter, and the cesspit just outside your door. Nobody bathes regularly. Water is for drinking and cooking, not cleaning. The wealthy might bathe monthly. You? Maybe 3 times a year. If you live in a town, you're inhaling a noxious cocktail with every breath. Mold from damp buildings, smoke from hundreds of hearths, and the stench of human waste dumped in streets, or tossed from windows with a half-hearted shout of "Gardez l'eau," watch out for the water. And if you're a peasant, which 90% of you would be, you've got another problem. You're already behind on your rent to the local lord, who owns basically everything, including your labor. That anxiety you're feeling, it's the knowledge that one poor harvest, one sickness, or one bad decision could mean starvation for your family. You haven't even gotten out of bed yet, and medieval life is already worse than your most miserable modern day. But don't worry, you haven't eaten, and you're about to regret that too. Hour 4. The sun's been up for hours, and your stomach is growling. Time for breakfast. Except breakfast isn't what you think. Forget coffee and toast. Your morning meal, if you're lucky enough to have one, is likely a hunk of days-old bread so hard it could break teeth, maybe dipped in ale to soften it. And that bread? It's dark, dense, and often contains dirt, insects, and sawdust to stretch the precious flour. Think there might be something better to eat? Not unless you're wealthy. Food is strictly seasonal. In spring and early summer, what medieval people called the starving time, last year's stores are depleted and new crops haven't grown. Many people simply went hungry, eating 1 meal a day or less. Your grain supply faces another deadly problem, ergot, a fungus that grows on rye. Consuming it causes hallucinations, seizures, and gangrene. Entire villages have been known to suffer dancing mania from ergot poisoning, with people dancing uncontrollably until they collapsed from exhaustion or died. That witchcraft accusation against your neighbor? Probably just tainted rye. Feeling thirsty? Don't drink the water. Medieval water sources are contaminated with human waste, animal carcasses, and industrial runoff from tanneries and butchers. Instead, you'll drink weak ale, not strong enough to get you drunk, but fermented enough to kill some pathogens. Children drink it too. In the year 1350, water can kill you faster than alcohol. If you're a woman and you complain about the miserable breakfast, watch out. Local laws against scolding or being a common scold could get you fitted with a scold's bridle, an iron cage locked around your head with a spike that presses against your tongue. Try eating anything with that on. As you choke down your meager meal, you notice your teeth. They're already in bad shape. There's no toothpaste, just harsh abrasives like crushed shells that wear away enamel. Cavities are treated by yanking the tooth out, without anesthesia. Many people lost all their teeth by 40, making eating even harder as they aged. Anyway, you've barely finished your pitiful breakfast, and now it's time for work. Hope you've got energy from that crust of bread, because the next few hours will test every muscle in your body. Hour 6. The morning is well underway, and it's time for work. What's your profession? It doesn't really matter. Almost every job will break your body by noon. If you're a peasant farmer, you're heading to the fields with tools that would make modern gardeners laugh or cry. Your plow is made of wood, not metal. Your sickle is dull. Your back is already aching from yesterday's labor, and today you'll spend 10 to 14 hours bent over in the fields. Those shoes? Thin leather that will be soaked through within an hour, leading to fungal infections and frostbite in winter. One wrong word to the wrong noble passing by, and you could find yourself in the village square being flogged for disrespect. Forget modern employment protections. You're essentially owned by the lord whose land you work. Can't pay your taxes? They might take your daughter as a servant or your son as a soldier. If you're a tradesperson in town, your day isn't much better. A blacksmith? Enjoy burns, crushed fingers, and metal dust in your lungs. A tanner? You're literally working with urine and animal brains to cure leather, a stench so foul that tanneries were required by law to be downwind of towns. Justice is swift, public, and brutal. Every market square features stocks or pillories where offenders are locked, unable to move, while crowds throw rotten food, excrement, and stones. Petty theft might cost you a hand. Poaching the king's deer? Hanging. The ducking stool looms by the village pond, a chair on a long arm where troublesome women, often just those who spoke up against mistreatment, are repeatedly plunged underwater to cool their tempers. Survive that, and you might face the branks next time. Even as a merchant with moderate wealth, one rumor about cheating customers or hoarding goods could see you branded on the face, your shop confiscated, your family destitute. There's no bankruptcy protection, no insurance, no safety net of any kind. And all of this assumes you're staying on the right side of an even more powerful force than the nobility. Because in medieval Europe, there's someone watching you even more closely than the local lord, and the consequences for displeasing them are eternal. Hour 10. The church bells ring out, reminding you of a fundamental medieval truth. Your soul is in constant danger. By midday, you've already committed several sins. Maybe you cursed when you stubbed your toe on that rusty nail. Perhaps you had an impure thought about the miller's daughter. Or worst of all, maybe you questioned why the priest lives in relative luxury while your family starves. The church sees all, knows all, and, most terrifying, punishes all. Step outside religious norms and you're not just a criminal, you're a heretic, facing consequences both earthly and eternal. The church owns vast tracts of land, collects tithes, mandatory religious taxes, dictates laws, and turns religious dissent into treason punishable by death. Forgot to bow your head when the host passed by during Mass? That's disrespect to the literal body of Christ. Someone might report you to the priest. Skipped church to tend your dying crop? That's prioritizing worldly concerns over spiritual ones. Another sin. If you're a woman with knowledge of herbal medicine, or a widowed woman living alone, you're walking an especially dangerous line. The term witch gets thrown around liberally, and once accused, you face impossible tests. Thrown in water to swim. If you float, you're guilty of witchcraft and will be executed. If you sink and drown, congratulations. You've been proven innocent posthumously. The Inquisition might visit your town seeking heretics and witches. Their methods of extracting confessions include sleep deprivation, stress positions, and various implements designed to cause excruciating pain without leaving obvious marks. Confess under torture, and you'll be executed. Maintain your innocence. That's just proof of your diabolical resistance, so you'll be tortured further, and then executed. Even your thoughts aren't safe. Confession is mandatory at least once a year, where you must disclose all sins to the priest. Forget to confess something? That's a sin too. The concept of private thoughts barely exists. Your mind belongs to God, and his earthly representatives want to know exactly what's in it. By now you're exhausted, paranoid about every word and gesture, and probably hungry again. Your meager breakfast is long gone and dinner is hours away. But hunger isn't your biggest problem, because in the Middle Ages the line between healthy and dying is perilously thin. Hour 14. That scratch you got from a rusty nail this morning. It's starting to look red and swollen. In the 21st century, this would mean a tetanus shot and some antibiotics. In 1350, it could be your death sentence. Medieval medicine operates on theories we now know are completely wrong. Your body contains 4 humours: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile, that must remain in balance. Feeling feverish? That's too much blood, so the standard treatment is bloodletting. Yes, when you're already sick, they'll drain more of your energy by cutting you open and collecting your blood in a bowl. Got a headache? They might drill a hole in your skull to release the pressure or the demons causing your pain. This procedure, called trepanation, was performed without anesthesia. If you survived, infection would likely kill you anyway. That infected scratch needs treatment, but options are limited. The local barber surgeon, yes, the same person who cuts hair also performs surgeries, might cauterize it with a hot iron. No anesthesia, just a piece of leather to bite down on while they burn your flesh. Alternatively, they might apply a poultice of moldy bread, accidentally discovering antibiotics centuries before penicillin, but with inconsistent results. If you're coughing, neighbors start avoiding you. It could be a simple cold, or it could be consumption, tuberculosis, or the dreaded plague. During epidemic years, showing symptoms might get you locked in your house with your entire family until you all either recovered or died. Is your wife pregnant? 1 in 3 women died in childbirth. Midwives helped, but if something went wrong, there were no emergency C-sections, no fetal monitoring, no pain relief beyond herbs and alcohol. And if the midwife delivered too many stillborn babies, she might be accused of witchcraft, her knowledge of female bodies seen as suspicious and threatening. Even the wealthy received terrible medical care. King Henry VIII's leg ulcer was treated with mixtures containing lead and mercury. Medical texts recommended treatments like applying a paste made of crushed snails to broken bones, or drinking a solution of ground-up mummy parts, yes, from actual Egyptian mummies, for various ailments. Your infected scratch is definitely concerning, but you can't afford to rest. The day's work isn't done, and now the sun is setting. In the modern world, nightfall means turning on lights and continuing your activities. In medieval Europe, it presents a whole new set of dangers. Hour 20. The sun has set and a darkness has fallen. A darkness more complete than anything you've experienced in the modern world. There are no street lights, no porch lights, not even bright windows to guide your way. If it's cloudy, you can't see your hand in front of your face. The only illumination comes from rushlights, dried reeds dipped in animal fat, or precious candles that cost a day's wages and burn quickly. Need to travel after dark? Good luck. Roads, really just muddy tracks, become treacherous death traps. Open sewers and cesspits line town streets, waiting for an unwary step. Wolves still roam many European forests, and highwaymen prey on travelers. Town gates close at sunset, and anyone caught outside without good reason is arrested as a potential thief, or worse. Inside the gates isn't much safer. Your fire provides minimal light and must be carefully tended. Let it go out, and you'll struggle to relight it without modern matches. Let it burn too high, and your thatched roof might catch fire, quickly spreading to consume the entire village. Need to use the bathroom? Hope you're comfortable with an open bucket in the corner of your one-room house used by the entire family. The wealthy might have a garderobe, basically a hole in a castle wall that drops waste directly outside. Everyone else uses chamber pots, or simply the nearest secluded corner. Can't sleep? There's nothing to do. You probably can't read. About 90% of people were illiterate. There are no books anyway, they're handwritten and cost a fortune. You could whittle by firelight or tell stories, but after an exhausting day of physical labor, most people simply went to sleep when darkness fell, huddled together for warmth. That constant anxiety you're feeling? It's normal. Medieval people lived with the perpetual fear of sudden disaster, crop failure, plague, war, or accusation of wrongdoing. Hour 24. Dawn breaks again. Somehow you've survived your first 24 hours in medieval Europe. Your back aches from the straw mattress and yesterday's labor. Your hands are blistered from wooden tools. That scratch is definitely infected now, red streaks starting to run up your arm. You've eaten perhaps 1,200 calories total, less than half what a modern person consumes, and most of those came from dense bread and weak ale. You've witnessed things that would traumatize a modern person. Public punishments, untreated illness, the casual cruelty of a world where life is cheap and death is expected. You've navigated a social minefield where the wrong word, gesture, or glance could bring accusations of disrespect, heresy, or witchcraft. And that was just day one. The truly terrifying part? You'd need to wake up and do it all again tomorrow, and the next day, and the next, for what would likely be a short, painful life. The average peasant lived to about 35, though that number is skewed by high infant mortality. Make it past childhood, and you might reach 50, if disease, accident, childbirth, war, or famine didn't claim you first. What kept medieval people going through this daily gauntlet of suffering and danger? Community was stronger than today. People relied on each other because they had to. Faith gave meaning to suffering, promising eternal reward for earthly hardship. And humans are remarkably adaptable. What seems unbearable to us was simply normal life to them. But make no mistake, almost none of us, with our modern expectations, medications, and comforts, could mentally or physically withstand what was everyday life for our ancestors. Those Renaissance fair turkey legs and cosplay outfits don't prepare you for the brutal reality. So next time you romanticize the Middle Ages, remember, you've just experienced one day and you're already broken. Your ancestors lived this way for decades. And if you want to see what happened to those who didn't survive day one, the accused witches, the heretics, the criminals real and imagined, subscribe for more dark history, brutal punishments, and forgotten stories from a past we should never romanticize, but must never forget. Because understanding how far we've come might be the best way to appreciate and protect the world we have now.